attracted to him about his play and what you see from both on and off the court?
Sure. I can't tell you guys how excited I am that we got Tikjaun. He's the guy who we had organizational alignment and conviction in from the very beginning. And you guys heard what Charles was saying yesterday. We want guys who give it an effort night in, night out, guys who compete. He's the youngest player in the draft, a ton of upside, great frame. I was fortunate I got to go to Europe a couple times this season to see him and spend some time with him. He's an amazing, amazing human being, and I know he's going to do everything in his control to maximize himself.
What kind of long-term project is he?
Yeah, I think, look, I never want to sit here and limit a player. You don't know, ultimately you don't know, right, in terms of how good they can be. So I think that's a little bit unfair. But, again, like I just said, I know he's going to maximize himself because he works. I just got off the phone with him, and he's like, I can't wait there to start working right now. So he's very, very anxious. He's going to put the time in the weight room, on the court. We're very fortunate to have Charles and his staff who, they take pride in player development. So I just think the marriage between Tikjaun and our staff is going to be beautiful.
What are some of his strengths? What sticks out in him when you watch him in person?
Yeah, just his competitive spirit. Right? Every single play, he's an urgent competitor, especially on the defensive end. He's flying around. He's athletic, so he can alter shots. He's getting loose possessions. Creating deflections, he's just, and he's a very selfless, which that's going to fit well with what we have here as well.
Jeff, I understood the workout kind of just so you guys even more on what you already knew about.
Yeah, if anything, I'd say it confirmed. I try to, kind of what I was saying yesterday in terms of context. Workout's just a small piece of the equation. It matters, Quite frankly, a lot of it, too, it's the time that we got to spend with him off the floor when he was here in Charlotte for a couple of days, which just, again, it just reaffirmed how good of a person he is, and he's about all the things that what we're creating here in Charlotte.
Jeff, just curious, did you guys even entertain any trade offers? Or?
Yeah. It's my job. Obviously, you have to look at everything. So had some conversations about moving up, conversations about moving back. Of course, ultimately we stayed put, and again, that's who we wanted. Again, we had the conviction from a couple of days ago that's who we were targeting. So I couldn't be more thrilled that we have him.
Jeff, from your perspective, we've seen a lot of players from Europe, particularly in this draft, and particularly from France. What is it about that league that has made so many people interested in all those players?
Yeah, I think, look, France, they have a ton of just the pedigree of players that come from that country, right? Starting, of course, Tony Parker and Boris Diaw, Evan Fournier, like Rudy Gobert, the list goes on. So it's a great place for basketball. They've done a tremendous job in terms of just, capturing talent at a young age and just continue to develop. So I know anytime I go to Europe to watch a game in France, I know that most of the time it's going to be a competitive environment. And again, Tikjaun being one of the youngest player in the draft, competing against grown men night in, night out, it just gave me that much more confidence that he was the guy.
What is the, positive and negative? Because you have to deal with that balance of a guy who's so young, so undeveloped, but there's obviously the attraction of the upside.
Yeah, excuse me. Again, you guys are probably gonna get tired of me saying it, but he's about all the right things. I'll take someone who competes, who works, who's unselfish, and who's going to give everything they have every single day. That effort that's required to be great. So I think with that, of course, given his physical attributes, and he has a good skill level as well. And then of course, you bring Charles into that equation, and I'm going to bet that they're able to do something special here.
Jeff, what is happening over in France that, you look at what's happened in the draft the last few years, what do you think is happening basketball-wise over there that so many guys are being drafted so high?
Yeah, I think, look, they love the game. That country truly, truly loves the game. And all those young, this generation now has had the example of Tony and Boris and Evan Fournier and Nick Batum, Rudy Gobert. That's a very, very strong country when it comes to basketball. So I just think this younger generation, they've grown up and they've seen it and they've loved it. And those guys have been great role models for them.
Some people say that they're playing the game the right way over there. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, again, they take pride in terms of sharing the basketball, and it's a very contagious style of basketball, if you will. So, excuse me, in terms of, there's plenty of possessions where Tikjaun, he makes the extra pass. He may be open and he has an open shot, but his teammates has a little bit of a cleaner look, and he'll make that pass. So things like that, possessions like that, give me a ton of confidence.
Jeff, did you make any calls to get back in the first round again tonight?
Again, yeah, we considered a little bit of everything. I made some calls, had some incoming calls, so that's my job, right? Even though you don't act on it, you got to be prepared for everything.
You talked a lot about his competitive spirit, especially defensively. I know he's got a high motor. Offensively, specifically, what's the skill set there that you really like that maybe he can provide right now, and then of course enhance the future?
Yeah, I think. Look, I'm encouraged by his shooting. He shot very well from the free throw line. He had a stretch in the season where he shot it very well from the 3-point line. Of course, he came in here to Charlotte to work out. I have confidence that he will be able to stretch the floor. Again, as I said, he's unselfish. There's plenty of possessions where he grabs a rebound and he's able to push and make a play for his teammates. Again, he's not a finished product by any means. He's the youngest player in the draft. So it's going to take some time, but there are plenty of possessions where he shows flashes that are very encouraging.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the upside and maybe being a product on offense. On defense, how quickly do you think his frame and versatility can translate?
Yeah, I would guess that part translates sooner. He competes. He sacrifices his body. He's not afraid to be physical. He does a pretty good job without fouling, which is rare for a young player. Again, he offers rim protection. He can switch. He can play, guard on the perimeter. So I think there's a ton of versatility there, and obviously that's where the league is these days.
How do you anticipate the split time for Salon in Greensboro and on the NBA roster?
It's so hard to anticipate that right now. Again, as I was saying earlier, I never want to limit a player or put that in, like he may come in and he plays a ton with the Hornets, or some, he may split some time. It's too hard to tell right now.
Jeff, how does he fit in with the other young pieces of the core that you guys have here in LaMelo and Brandon, both in terms of short-term this season and long-term your projection?
Yeah, I'm encouraged with that fit. Again, I think, with LaMelo and Brandon, they're both young as well, right? And of course, Tikjaun, he's very young. So I think it's going to be exciting to see them grow together. Obviously, all different positions. A couple things that they have in common, though, they all want to be great. They work, they put the time in, and again, I'm really encouraged to see what those three can do over the course of their careers here in Charlotte.
You kind of inferred that he was the target all along. Is that to say if you had the number one pick, he was top of your board or something like that?
Yeah, he was very high on our board. Yep.
He looks to have really improved the last few years ever since signing with the under 21 team in Chalets. How exciting is that to see a guy that's made such major strides as quickly as he has in the last 3 years?
It's very encouraging, and again, I think he's just scratching the surface. But I know the only reason he's been able to improve at that rate because he's a maniacal worker. Again, I just got off the phone with him, and I can't wait to get there to work. He doesn't want to do anything else. He just wants to play basketball and work and put the time in. So, I'll be able to sleep at night knowing that's his makeup.
Familiarity.
How does pick on a con affect you guys as you put this roster together here the next week or so? Figures here, what you got going on. How's it going to affect you?
Look, he's another piece to the puzzle. It's my job and of course the rest of the front office to go figure out what other pieces we need. But again, I would kind of look at it separate. We have a development plan for him, and we'll continue to address the rest of the roster at a later time.
And what familiarity do you know that he has not only with Charlotte, America? How excited is he about that part of the opportunity?
He's very excited. He doesn't have a ton of exposure to America, but he's very excited to get here to Charlotte. He's excited to be in New York right now, of course, to see what that looks like. But again, he's a low maintenance kid. He just loves the gym, and he's ready to get here to Charlotte.
And you expect him to participate in the summer league and everything?
Yeah, I do. Excited about that as well.
Do you have any desires for tomorrow?
Desires for what? I'm sorry.
Just like in the draft, like do you have anything that you're really targeting?
Yeah, again, I think it just all goes back to what Charles was saying yesterday. Just effort, competitive makeup. Of course, anytime you can get somebody with positional size, right, that's always a bonus. Threshold of skill, depending on what the position is. So those are a few things that I like to look for.
You said you had organizational alignment on this selection. You got a report that Steve Clifford was really high on Salon. What was his influence on this pick, and just how high was he on Salon, according to you?
Yeah, Cliff was definitely high on Salon, and that's the beautiful thing about Cliff. No ego, and I said, listen, I need you to watch a handful of players and give me your opinion. And he freaking knocked it out in like 2 days. He's amazing. But yeah, it's that gives you a little bit of confidence, just that Cliff's been around the game forever. So it certainly helps that he saw what the rest of us saw as well.
He's clearly a young player.
Last one, guys.
He's clearly a young player, but is there anybody whose game you kind of remind you of at this stage, Super Bowl, but who would you compare him to, like, that you've watched over time?
Yeah, again, I just go back to his core characteristics and his traits. I don't want to really compare him to anyone. I think I just know that those traits usually tend to lead to success in the NBA. So,
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.
thank you guys.